Hi guys, so today our first card is a mystical shaman oracle. It's number 16 with eagle. Eagle comes from the east, the place of the rising sun, of new beginnings. She soars high in the sky, sees the smallest detail with clarity without losing track of the bigger picture, and nests in the high mountains. For eagle, there are no obstacles, only opportunities. She calls you to ascend, to acquire perspective so you can fly wing to wing with great spirit. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's a part in the invitation that I really like for this reading. It says, Eagle reminds you that your spirit was born to soar in the heavens. As you contemplate choices, ask yourself, do I want to live in a chicken coop, sheltered from life, counting the regular feedings, or do I want to soar like an eagle? And I feel like definitely somebody is realizing that they have so much more potential, or maybe they need to realize that. And so I decided to do something different because I had two cards pop out when I did the Mystical Shaman Oracle. I decided to put one at the beginning of the reading and one at the end. And I thought I would do a Herbal Astrology Oracle right underneath that. And interesting is I was only going to draw one. And I got both these Herbal Astrology Oracles, and I put them back like 2 times, and they both came out. So I thought that was, okay, I guess I'm getting two. And it would happen to be these two, which I thought was pretty awesome. So the first one is number 47 with skull cap, stillness. Upright, it means stillness after the storm. Let go of control. Trust in life. Surrender to the divine plan and break open. This is Pluto and Saturn. So definitely those lessons that we learn, learning from those deeper parts of ourselves. And I'm just going to read the guidance. The guidance says the storm is past. You've just weathered or are weathering a storm. Ground deeply into the present moment. If you feel fear, find consolation in stillness as it readapts. The medicine of the scorpion embodies the stillness of darkness, and it assists by accepting sudden change with ease and calm. If you're feeling exhausted, drained, or depleted, this is a time for you to pause, withdraw into your cave. You are in the process of rebuilding after the storm. Don't rush, reflect. Take the time to birth a new structure that supports a new version of yourself. So, it seems contradictory. We have the eagle, and then we have, where it tells us the kind of like, stillness. But at the same time, I think the eagle is telling us that, we have the ability to soar higher. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're rushing. Now, the eagle, it doesn't have to rush around. This is a bird that is powerful and, has the perception and the regalness, right? So there's no showing off or trying to, make people notice it that way. It's acknowledging that it has that beautiful power and rubbing shoulders and wings with spirit, right? So I feel like this is saying, reminding us that, we have that greater ability, that's so much more that we feel like a lot of times I feel like we're actually looking for that. I feel like we're at a moment, whether this is somebody or something you're trying to do, that we need to realize that there is so much more that we have potential for, and to not sell ourselves short. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like, when we don't give ourselves those times of stillness, we do that. Like we freak out and think, oh, this isn't meant for me. This isn't what it's supposed to be. Da 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 da. Or we're trying to push something. I feel like allowing that flow and understanding that, we are going to be okay, that this is kind of how the path has to come. So we're going to go into the tarot, and then I have the Six of Swords with the Six of Swords. I love how that happens. And then when it does, I'm always like, man, I should have draw the cards out. But whatever. Either way, it's the message. So whether you believe I put them there or not, I don't know. But I don't care. The point is, it's telling us, that we are in the process of sailing off to calmer shores, right? And at the same time, a lot of times the Six of Swords also can talk about you've kind of adapted that whole give and take. These are sixes. Sixes are about harmony and all about that wholeness in giving and taking, understanding the balance between that, the balance in relationships, that feeling you get when you have like wholeness in your relationships and your understanding of that type of thing. I feel like this is saying whatever the situation is, whether it's something that you're working on, which I really feel like this with all these pentacles and what it's really saying in this message. I feel like whatever you're crafting, this is a big part of your life. This is, the hard part is over. The hard part is taking that first step, and I feel like we've already done that. And then, with the swords, a lot of times that's mental, but it's also like learning and, the higher mind sometimes. And I feel like this is saying, we have learned those lessons. We've navigated and used that lessons, and we've discovered those things. And now it is kind of like a time to work together and kind of be a guide for others, passing on the guidance. So my second column being what we need to work on, what we need to focus on. We have the Knight of Pentacles and we have the Page of Pentacles. So the Knight of Pentacles, he's that knight that puts in the doing, the skills, the tangible skills to work. He's dependable. He's somebody who has a lot of tricks in his bag, right? Things that he can do, and he does it in a very stable and productive way. But he's slow, so isn't like the Page of Pentacles is kind of a little bit faster in that aspect. But I feel like that is saying, reminding us, that stillness, kind of taking those intentional steps. But we have the Page of Pentacles down there, and the Page of Pentacles is also a builder, but this is a builder in the way that there's more enthusiasm, that childlike wonder. I say it all the time, but I think it's so massively important. This is this is the apprentice. This is somebody who has that beginner mindset where everything is fascinating and exciting, right? This is, ooh, I want to learn about that. Ooh, I want to learn how to do that. Let me do that. This is somebody who wants to get their hands in it or their mind in it, whatever, in that craft that we're doing, right? So I feel like it's telling us, yes, take your time and be methodical, but do it in this aspect of, not forgetting why we did it in the first place. And so then we go to our third column, which we have the Devil and we have the Queen of Cups. Now, this is my column of what kind of resources we have around us, what kind of skills we've obtained, what kind of energy we have around us, what kind of people we might have around us. So I don't really think of this Devil as a negative thing. And I like to point out that I don't tend to think of the Devil as a negative thing. I think it's just showing us, sometimes it can be depending on the context, but this is something that is here to help us. So a lot of times the Devil energy is understanding that, we have the ability to release those restrictions, right? Release those things that are binding us. So I feel like being this with over the Queen of Cups, who is about being very intuitive and also being very emotionally receptive and giving. This is saying that we're expanding on that. I feel like we understand that there is so much more that's available to us. And that is a gift that we have. And I think we need to understand that there is so much more available. I can't remember where I heard this from or where I seen it, but one of the things about the Devil was saying it's kind of understanding you're between the doorways between the garden you just came from and the garden that is so much more. They're very similar, but the things that are the difference is there's just more of it. It's like an expansion on the things that you already know. And so that's another level of the Devil. That rhymed. So, and it's another 6. So if your life has 6, you might be like me, where you kind of always try to advocate for the Devil because you're like, well, he's not a bad guy. That's just part of my life path, or whatever. But like, I feel like that's what this is saying. The abilities that the Queen of Cups has. She's incredibly intuitive. She's also incredibly giving and incredibly nurturing. This is somebody who, has the ability to do all these things. Much like the King of Cups. However, sometimes she gives a little bit too much, but I don't feel that in this way. I feel like this is saying that this is very deeply intuitive and giving nature. This is the spirituality part of yourself. Because when we think about things, if we dive into that spiritual nature of ourselves, yes, it's empowering. And it does kind of give us that stuff that propels us forward. But when you get to those levels, what do you feel like doing? You feel like expressing it. You feel like, sharing those gifts to better, your environment. And there's so much more to the emotional and the spiritual part of things that you are working on or you're experiencing. And being that this is something that is an asset, I feel like with the Devil, there is such a bigger level that you're kind of tapping into. Whether this is a creative thing, because a lot of times that can also be part of both of these cards, is a creative aspect. But I feel like this is saying whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing, whatever this focus is of this reading for you, it's saying that there is so much here that I don't think you're aware of. that you have at your disposal, and we just kind of need to tap in. So maybe that's part of what that stillness is about. And, opening them wings and understanding that, you can fly higher and greater. And so my last row, which is pretty interesting. So we have the Hangman and we also have the Eight of Pentacles, which those two cards together means that, right now is a perfect opportunity for whatever your goal is, what you're working on. Right now is the time to strike. So if you've been thinking about something, here's your calling right here. And I'll read the Thunder card in a minute, but that also kind of emphasizes that. But the Hangman is, a lot of times we look at them as the card of looking at things in different perspective, which, is also about surrender. And with the Eight of Pentacles, a lot of times the Eight of Pentacles, it is hard work, but it's hard work and something you're passionate about. This is having that deep trust and surrender and faith in a way that you're working because you feel it. You feel connected to the thing that you're doing, right? You're connected to your craft, whatever your craft is, or whatever this passion is that you're working on. And it's going to come to fruition because you can feel it. And you can feel it because of how it makes you feel when you're working on it, right? So I greatly feel like this column is telling us whatever you're working on, it's the one for you, and you need to take action on it now. But again, taking action on it doesn't mean that we have to go blindly into it and, hustle to a point to where we trip up. It's taking that time, but in a passionate way, if that makes sense. And so then we go to our last two oracles, and we have Thunder. And this card is number 56. And the essence says, legends speak of great thunder beings who lived in the sky and call your attention when great occurrences are meant to happen in the world. They warn of tensions in a situation are called upon to be released. Their presence in your reading reminds you of dramatic moments in life that change everything, both awesome and frightening when thunder arrives. It's also a wake-up call, one that you will soon not forget. So it's kind of like, I feel, kind of like a tower card. And in the invitation, it talks about too, it says, this is a time to be prepared for anything. Your life is an adventure and wonderful opportunities are arriving now. The trick is to learn to run with them. Qualities that you'll need now more than ever are flexibility, dexterity, and the willingness to experience it all without dictating from where or in what form opportunities come. Your destiny is arriving. Be ready. And how much do I talk about destiny, right? And I don't have a kid named Destiny, so that's not what I'm talking about. Maybe your name's Destiny. But anyway, this is your legacy. I feel like whatever this is, to build on yesterday's reading, this is huge. Whatever this is for somebody, do it, right? Be responsible, but do it. And then we finish off with our last Herbal Astrology Oracle, which is number 37. Rhodiola, I know I say that wrong, I can't help it, that's just who I am. And upright is magic, wisdom keeper, purity, higher consciousness, clarity, intuitive intellect, and enchantment. And this is ruled by Uranus and Mercury. This is, again, Uranus is that deep, out of the box need in your psyche, right? This is the person or the archetype, I should say, who likes to do things differently. But there's also a big humanitarian part of that. And then Mercury, this is all about thought and learning and what makes you feel alive. And if you're like me, thinking outside the box makes you feel alive. So on this card, we have the unicorn, and it's known as the great protector of the forest. Also, unicorns are gatekeepers. They're ancient forest protectors. And it says, some unicorns are said to live in the high mountains to this day, nourishing and protecting the wise and ancient forest left. Rhodiola is in your cards today to remind you that you are intelligence embodied, intuitive, articulate, and knowledgeable. You exude mastery, purity, authority, and wisdom. Emotions don't cloud your judgment. Do not instead of don't. Your judgment, your actions are measured carefully and intuitively as you contain ancient codes on the ways of heaven and earth. The subtle essence of the unicorn resides in the third eye. If unicorn medicine comes to you, your sense of wise creativity and aliveness will deepen. Don't neglect your medicine. Honor your natural gifts. Stand tall and own your medicine and who you are becoming. And doesn't that just say, I just got chilled outside. Doesn't that just bring up like what this whole thing is about, right? It's understanding how much more you can be. And I feel like a lot of us, a huge amount of us, I don't know if it's just me, like, I've always kind of been into this kind of stuff and, kind of trying to understand spirituality and everything. But like, I think in the last couple of years, there's just been like this deep, like, holy crap. You know what I mean? What have I been doing? Like, keeping this down? Why am I not expressing this? Right. And I feel like this is what this is saying. Do what makes you feel, right? There is a tangible aspect to that. And whether that's, creating something physical or creating something tangible through some type of word or voice or song or literature or just a concept. Just being who you are, but do it in the aspect of your greatest self. Do it with your eagle wings flying, right? And allow those thunderous messages to bring that out in you. I feel like that's what this is saying. And, again, with the Eight of Pentacles and the Hangman, this is saying now is the time. Now is the time. So I hope this meant something for somebody today. And I absolutely appreciate you guys so much. Thank you and have a beautiful day.